Hey, this is Dane from featherprep.com. Thanks for joining me here today. I want to first say a huge thanks to all of my regular viewers who keep coming back, and I want to give a special shout out to those who take the time to comment down below. I read all of the comments, even the ones suggesting that I'm going to hell, and I try to respond to the more thoughtful ones or answer the questions that are asked. So I just want to say thank you to those who watch and to those who comment. I sincerely appreciate that. All right, so in my last few videos, I've dealt with some Roman Catholic themes and focused on some differences between Protestants and Catholics. And let me reinforce what I said in an earlier video. I am not bashing Catholics, nor do I feel any ill will toward my Roman Catholic brothers and sisters. I love my Catholic brothers and sisters. I believe that a Roman Catholic could be a follower of Jesus, just like a Baptist could be a follower of Jesus. And if you're a follower of Jesus, then I am your brother. You see, what I am interested in is discovering truth and aligning myself as close as I can to that truth. I'm not saying that I have the corner on truth here, but I am a genuine seeker of it. So in today's video, I want to talk about the one issue that stands as a huge difference and often a bone of contention between Roman Catholics and non-Roman Catholics, and that is the Marian Doctrines. This, of course, has to do with how Catholics understand Mary, the mother of Jesus. From her immaculate conception, which means that Mary herself was conceived without the stain of original sin, to her perpetual virginity, to the Assumption of Mary. Protestants have really struggled with the manner in which Catholics make Mary such an integral part of their faith. One of the main reasons why Protestants really have issue with these doctrines is because none of them are explicitly taught in Scripture. In other words, we don't have any passage that actually tells us that Mary was assumed into heaven as her earthly sojourn here was completed. We don't have any passages that tell us that Mary remained a virgin her entire life. And as a matter of fact, we have passages that strongly suggest the opposite is true, that she didn't remain a virgin. So you see, none of these Marian doctrines are spelled out clearly for us in the writings of the apostles. Maybe the only exception would be the Mother of God doctrine, since we do have Elizabeth declaring that Mary was, and I quote, the mother of my Lord in Luke 1:43. But that's the closest thing that we actually have to a passage that describes one of these Marian doctrines. The other remaining Catholic doctrines surrounding Mary are implied. In other words, the church in Rome has to read between the lines, so to speak, of some of these verses and then come up with an interpretation that isn't there intuitively. They tell us that the verse says something that it really doesn't say. So let me show you an example of what I mean. I want to play a clip here for you from Father Mike Schmitz from Ascension Presents. I've played clips from him in my previous videos, and I'm not picking on Father Mike. Rather, I'm just playing his clips because he does a pretty good job of articulating the Catholic view, and he doesn't waste any time doing it. Now, honestly, I'd rather have him here with me to interact with, but hey, I'm pretty small potatoes, and I know he'd never do that. Although, Father Mike, if you're watching, you are welcome to contact me to talk. So anyway, let's watch here as Father Mike talks about Mary.
Number one, from the cross, Jesus said to the beloved disciple, that's your mother. And to his mother, that's your son. In doing so, Jesus gave Mary as mother of all of us. That is what all Christians have believed for all time. That's like the interpretation of that has been, for all Christians from the beginning, has been that from the cross, in a moment of agony, when he's being poured out, Jesus is not just entrusting his mom to the care of John the Beloved. He is entrusting his mom to all of us, and he's trusting us to his mom. He's giving us his mother as our mother. So what it goes on to say, from that moment, he took her, from that hour, John took her into his home. So that's what we are supposed to do too. So number one, Jesus gave us to each other from the cross.
Okay, this clip gives us a pretty good example of what I'm talking about in terms of how Catholics have to interpret the Bible to satisfy the teachings of their leaders. Father Mike takes us to John 19, where from the cross, Jesus saw Mary and the disciple we believe to be John standing nearby. He said to Mary, "Woman, behold your son," and to John he says, "Behold your mother." Now, John tells us that from that point on, he took Mary into his own home, evidently to care for her. And that's all that he said. Now, as you just heard from Father Mike, Catholics teach that this passage encourages us all to take Mary into our homes. Now, that may sound very heartwarming and could bring a smile to a lot of faces, but the real question is, does the Bible actually teach that? Does the Bible teach that as John took Mary into his home, that we are to take Mary somehow into our homes or into our lives? And the answer is absolutely not. Did you note that Father Mike didn't exegete the passage for us to reach that conclusion? In other words, did you notice that he didn't walk us through the language of the text or connect it to other passages where we're told to take Mary into our homes? That's because he can't. The passage doesn't state what he wants it to state, and the Bible simply doesn't teach what he wants it to teach. Instead, what he does is insist that this is what all Christians have believed for all times, which isn't true. While it might be true that some of the church fathers may have seen it that way, the Christians that would be most important to us, the apostles, for example, give us no indication whatsoever that they wanted all Christians to take Mary into their homes in the manner that John did. So clearly, this is not an apostolic teaching. So if you're Roman Catholic and wondering why Protestants have such difficulty with the Marian Doctrines, well, it's because none of them are explicitly found in Scripture. The only way to see them in the Bible is to be told by someone you accept as authoritative that they're there, because otherwise you would never find any of the Marian Doctrines in Scripture. Let me add that Protestants don't deny that Mary had a special role and has a special place among the many Christians of our past that we remember fondly. What we do is try to keep her in the same place that Jesus saw her. You remember in Mark chapter 3, Jesus' mother Mary and his brothers had come to talk with him. When Jesus learns that they had come for him, he rhetorically asks the crowd, "Who are my mother and my brothers?" And then he answers his own question by looking at the people around him and says, "Here are my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of God is my brother and my sister and mother." Jesus doesn't seem to see Mary in some elevated role. Rather, he suggests that anyone who lives faithfully to God has elevated himself to the same place as Mary. Well, with that, I'm going to sign off. Don't forget to click the little thumbs up button if you really dug this video. And please consider subscribing to this channel. Oh, and tell Father Mike that we need to talk sometime. I hope to see you in the next video.